There have been two world wars in the history of Russia and Germany. Immediately after the World War I, the USSR helped Germany to restore its economy. For several years, Berlin was the biggest trade ally of Moscow. The Soviet Union conducted joint training with the German military and helped Germany get back on its feet. With Hitler coming to power, the cooperation between the two countries only increased. The two countries, with their dictators, become quite friendly. It is known that in the beginning of the World War II, Germany and the USSR held a joint parade of the Wehrmacht and the Red Army in the city of Brest. The Soviet Union also supplied grain and wheat to Germany, among a great deal of other things. Oil, ore, grain were supplied to Germany by trainloads. In return, Germany supplied the USSR with samples of their military equipment and industrial machinery. In that war, the USSR and the Allies won. After the fall of Berlin, Soviet soldiers committed atrocities and violence against civilians in Germany. Mass murder, shootings, rape and looting were well documented. Entire detachments of officials tasked with capturing spoils of war were formed. Captured valuables took 400,000 railroad carriages to transport. These included 2,885 factories and 96 power plants, over 1 million cattle, millions of tons of grain, potatoes and other vegetables, fats and sugar, 20 million liters of wine and other alcohol, 60,000 grand pianos, radios, carpets, furniture and various clocks. The modern-day Germany maintained that in Russia and that these countries still keep nearly 200,000 museum exhibits taken after the war. Germany is still working on returning them. No one could ever have imagined how the war would end, and everyone expected a completely different outcome. This was a brief recap of history. History tends to repeat itself, and now the following slogans are popular with the Russian public. Thanks, grandfather, for the victory. To Berlin. We can do it again. No price is too high. The Russian soldier is not your enemy. For the Europe of motherland. New World Order. A Russian officer is prepared to live and die without a name. Judging from the recent events, these threats are not hollow. Russia is willing to do it again. But its counterparts in the West often choose to focus on economic issues, ignoring the recent historic events. The results of such flirtation are not difficult to predict. The ball is on the German side of the field now. Let us look at another big European economy, France. Russo-French relations also have several hundred years of history. Over 200 years ago, France capitulated to Russia in the Napoleonic Wars. Russian officers gladly threw themselves into Parisian life. They attended gambling establishments, brothels and restaurants. Such lifestyle requires a lot of money. Before being sent back to Russia, Count Vorontsov ordered an account of the officer debts. The amount was a staggering 1.5 million rubles. The Count decided not to ask the Tsar to cover the debt. Instead, he sold his estate and paid the debt himself. When Germany capitulated, ending WW2 in Europe, Alfred Jodl signed the capitulation. Looking at the French representatives with the prize, Jodl asked Zhukov, "Did they defeat us too?" After World War II, France held a special place in the Western world, trying to resolve the contradictions between NATO and the Warsaw Pact, developing cooperation with Moscow in various fields, including military. In 2010, for instance, France agreed to build 2 Mistral-class helicopter carriers for the Russian Navy. However, due to annexation of the Crimea, France cancelled the contract. If one were to draw historical parallels, it will probably not be possible for France to resolve his crisis as easily. Every country develops international relations independently. New alliances are formed, new agreements are signed. Some of them remain unknown, well to high profit and power. These tendencies may be difficult to see from inside the European Union, but history tends to repeat itself. This rerun may take a much darker turn this time, with devastating consequences.